Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Blind Hope with Rich. You guessed it, I'm Rich. Hey, so this past week, um, I was thinking, what would be a topic, that would be good um, for my episode this week. And I was having several different, things going on, and having all these different feelings, and I was thinking, man, what am I gonna? And it just came. I was like feeling my way through feelings. I mean, that's there it is right there. Because I've had some feelings that just I was really excited about. And then had some feelings that I just was meh, kind of indifferent about, and some that I was a little bummed out about. You know, um, but either way, whether they were feelings of pure joy or happiness, or feelings, that kind of bummed me out. I it's true with everybody. We can't sit and you know in these feelings because I mean I would love to say I could sit and be happy all the time, but I can't sit still and as life goes by I just stay in happiness. It doesn't work like that for me. I don't know about y'all, but for me I'm moving through life, trying to find all the enjoyment out of it. And some days though, hey, life on life's terms hits us, and it's challenging. It's like, oh my gosh, now what in the world is going on? And I just get like totally dumbfounded. But like, man, how is it? Things were feeling so good, and the day started out so awesome, and then suddenly, bleh, I'm all bummed out. Doom and gloom. Oh no, oh no. I don't recall feeling anger at those times, but I felt, down, you know, bummed out, sad, maybe a little depressed because, for whatever reason, it just, things happen, you know, and we choose how we react to things. I could have gone a different direction in a decision that me and my wife made, and but it would have affected other people, you know, negatively. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not. I don't want other people brought down by my choices. I want people to be happy with choices that I make. I want them to enjoy what's going on. And sometimes that means I have to accept things, move through them, so that I can just come out the other side and all right, next adventure, here we go. But that's what I've been going through in the past week is feeling the feelings associated with the events that I'm going through. You know, I I have a lot of things to be joyful for, and then I have some things that are bumming me out. Some of it has to do with family, some of it has to do with work, some of it has to do with just outside events, and there's just some things that I'm not as excited about, and I think that's okay. The key thing is though not to sit in it. Don't sit and roll around in this icky feeling and get on the poor me pity pot. Get up off your butt and walk on through it. There is another end to it. If you get walked into it, you can walk on through and walk out of it. You just have to give it a try. You instead of oh, oh, continually just bummed out, man. If that's how you're feeling, strongly urge you do something freaking different. I mean, you got to find that positive, yaha, and be enjoying it and loving that feeling and going for it because, that's what we got. That's what we have in our lives is that those moments that, are joyful and we feel happy and we're like, yes, so awesome. You know, we can't have those feelings that are, uh, what does that do for us? Does that make our day good? Not mine. I don't know about y'all, but not mine. I want something that makes me feel good. I want to be like, yeah, I gone and did this, you know. Today we gone and well, it's Saturday. You'll see this tomorrow. But on Saturday we gone and seen a friend of ours. Uh, she went back to school and she got her high school diploma. Some of you are like, so I got a college degree or whatever. But for to see this person and know the life that the person has went through, and for that person to have the drive and the desire to go for it and make that change, like I said, to do something different instead of doing the same old that keeps ending up in the you know, it was a fabulous thing to feel and to hear the people cheering for this individual. It was glorious, you know. And then there was another person that we knew that even realized was graduating because I didn't know the person well enough, but it made me feel good because I'm like, yes, another one going for it. You know, making that change, stepping up so they can have a better life. You know, not sitting and repeating the same action, expecting different results. By the way, if any of you don't know what that is, that's the definition for insanity. That's right, insanity. Repeating the same actions, expecting different results. It's insane. Why would we keep doing the same thing if the same thing? Why would I keep putting my hand on a hot stove if every time I put my hand on the hot stove top, you know, why and get burned? Why do I keep wanting to do that? What kind of craziness is like people, that are doing drugs, I believe me, I know about those people. I was one of them. You know, we do drugs. Oh, it'll be different this time. Oh, no, it'll be different this time. And you keep ending up, with crazy things happening. Like, I found out I'm allergic to doing drugs because I keep breaking out in felonies and handcuffs, and not a good thing. But I kept doing it. I kept doing it. I kept doing it. I kept doing it. And years went by, and now there's been years gone by that I've been without that stuff. I've been on the right path, living my life, and yeah, there have been hardships, losing my vision, kidney disease, having kidney disease, and a lot of things. I could keep on going and going, but you know what? Nah, ain't worth my time to be bummed out about all that. I spent my time feeling my way through the vision loss. I felt my way, feeling my way through the thought that I'm just not breathing as good as I used to. But I keep on going. I keep on enjoying what I got because you know what? Freaking happy with the life I got. I have an amazing wife. I have some four-legged children that, even though they pay more attention to my wife than me, I'm still happy about these little guys. And I got a miniature dachshund and I got two cats. One wants to talk all the time, and the other one's just over 7 months old kitten, and meow wants to go everywhere, up the walls, down the walls, and under everything and over everything. Now the cat's realizing it's getting too fat. You can't fit under things anymore. So when I hear go, oh, I'm like, yeah, and it gives me a smile. I'm like, yep, that boy he can't fit anymore under that coffee table. It's really deep, and I enjoy those moments. That's what I want you guys to stop and think. What are the moments that I've enjoyed? What kind of feelings did they create? Man, what do I do to find more of those feelings? Not more of these other things. We don't want that feeling. No, we don't want the sadness. We don't want the hurt. We don't want the depression. We don't want the, negative stuff. We don't want that. No. And some people are like, and that's how my life is. I was like, then change it. Do something different. Reach out. Find somebody that can help steer you to a different path. You know, if some of you comment down below, I live here and I'm feeling this and I don't know how to change. Man, I'll try and put a reply in and let you know, hey, this is available in your area because there are resources that people don't have no idea about. Our different states have all these different resources. The federal government has all these different resources to help people that are in tough spots in their life, help them get back up on their feet, get them moving in the right direction. It's not going to live their life for you. You got to put the footwork in, but they'll help you. And for me, that's the big thing, is just finding somebody that will help. God, that is such an amazing thing, because doing it by ourselves, man, it can, in a lot of ways, be done. But man, sometimes it's like you're just trying to pull a 500-pound load up a hill by yourself versus asking for help. And here's this group of guys or gals that just come and, wow, they hook on and they pull with you, and boom, 500-pound load just goes flying up a hill. I mean, it's that easy, really. You know, getting out of those negative feelings. I know it's hard. It's not easy. I know, I've been there. I've done that. Some people have to be on medication to help them. That's okay. If that's what they need, then that's what they need to do. I'm somebody that I'm going to try and work things out before the medications, but I'm on some medications, for blood pressure, for what, cholesterol, thyroid, all those kind of things. I'm on medications for that stuff, but it doesn't mean that it's over, and done. It means that, these things assist me in living the best life that I can live. And that in itself is amazing. It's exciting to know that I have this in my life. When I was back there, years ago, and I was down in the dumps, I was living under the bridge in Topeka. I was living in, condemned houses, and I was living on people's couches. I mean, all over the place, just, and I mean, horrible, horrible life, and I was living it like that because, when I had my head all messed up with drugs, I thought, I'm living the great life, man. I'm on top of the world. And I looking back at it, I feel like I was crawling through the sewers. It was a really challenging life to experience. But nowadays, I have all this stuff that goes on that because I've worked and I've tried to move forward and do things, yeah, you get those feelings when things don't go right. That doesn't mean you sit there and start spinning out in your head and getting all worked up. It means, okay, what's the solution? Let's get out of the problem. Let's get in the solution. Let me get some more of those good feelings that I love. I got, I think, 2 weeks, maybe two, maybe three. God, I don't know. Today is somewhere around the 16th, I think. So I got 2 weeks left. So I got 3 weeks total. And I'll, 3 weeks. Yeah, between 2 and 3. We'll say that. Call it good. And I got between 2 and 3 weeks, and I get to go spend 4 days camping. You know what? That thrills me because I'm going to see more friends. Well, I'm not going to see them, but I want to hear them. And so I'm going to have all these friends that I'm going to get to chat with and, sitting around. And, a lot of times on the first night, we're all hanging out together, or sometimes the second night, actually, because we do this for 4 days. A group of us do. It's only an actual 3-day function, but a group of us make it into a 4-day function because we want to spend time with each other because we become such close friends and we care about each other and how we're doing, and it just feels good. So I look forward to that. Tomorrow morning I want to go get up in the morning on Sunday morning instead of sleeping in like I would love to do. I'm going to get up and I'm going to get myself around, and I'm probably going to, this. I've been trying. Well, I'll tell you that in a second. I want to get up and get around and go to this meeting, this recovery meeting, and I'm going to enjoy it because I'm going to be around all of my friends, you know, except there's a one couple that I wish, were around, but right now they are enjoying their life because they've retired and they get to enjoy their life because they put all these years in working to get to this point in life that they can enjoy. they're like right now traveling. They got this mobile home, and they're towing the car behind it, and they're just traveling all over. Visiting their kids, their grandkids. They're going up and down the coast. Eventually they're going to go. And they're on the west side of the United States. Eventually they're going to go to the damn over to the east side and check it all out. That is something I want me and my wife to be able to do. So we have to put in the footwork to achieve that long term goal. That's a long ways. Well, at my age now, it doesn't feel as long a ways away as what it used to. But for me, regardless, it's far enough away that I need to put little goals and achievements. I have this much money saved. I have this much money in retirement. I have this plan to go do this and check out this adventure and take this vacation and all these other things. I have these other plans that I need to take care of. So it's going to take me some effort. I can't just achieve it. Bam! I get to go travel like my friends are that are retired. But hey, I see what they have. So if I want what they got, I got to do what they do, right? I got to put in the footwork to get that point of happiness that, oh, this feels amazing, you know? And I get to go, just recently was Mother's Day, and I got to go up and spend time with my mom, my dad, my stepbrother, uh, my daughter, her fiance, uh, you know, and we even took the dog with us, and the dog has a friend up there, some other dog that my folks recently adopted, you know, and they have a great time. The dogs do. It just feels good when everything's happy, and so when we face those times in our lives that are challenging, that are feel like they're tearing us down, and we're sinking, reach a hand out, find that person, find that agency, find that entity that will help you step out and get back up on even ground. Find that, whatever it can be, find it. It is, I guarantee you, it's out there. You have to give it a chance, though, because if your comfort zone has become something that is this big, and all that's in it is, that's not a good comfort zone, folks. You got to get up out of that comfort zone. You got to feel the energy. You got to find this. I've gone out with so and so and had a cup of coffee in the morning, or gone and had a gone to the donut shop, or gone out with my significant other and had breakfast at this fabulous fresh restaurant that has all this fresh food and not all the processed stuff, and it tasted so good. It just made me feel happy how great it tasted, and all these things we can do. Don't sell yourself short. It doesn't have to be a big magnanimous thing. It just has to be something that'll bring a smile to our face. It doesn't have to be major. It's just small. Maybe you want to sit out on the front porch in the morning, watch the sunrise. For me, I don't. Unfortunately, my wife tells me when she's on her way to work, she has to drive to another town because the town we're in, it's got two stoplights, and that's about the size of the town. But she gets to drive to this job that she enjoys. And unlike the last one she had, that her boss was a bad word, and we'll just say that. And so, but she gets to drive and she gets to enjoy doing her job. She gets to be around a bunch of children. She has a really enjoyable time. But the great thing is, her day started off on the right track because she makes herself a cup of coffee, a big one, and she, takes it with her out the door, and she hops in this car she just got herself, and she's heading down the interstate, and she gets to watch the sunrise off to her right while she's heading on down the road. And so, and to her, it's such. She talks about how beautiful it is and how it makes and how it feels to her and everything. I can't see that. I wish truly I did. I wish they'd hurry up and find the cure for my vision loss, but it'll happen when it's supposed to happen, I guess. And I have to accept that. If I don't accept it, I'm going to be bummed out. So I accept it. It tells me about this sunrise and stuff, and I'm just like, I can remember, what it was like. But I've also learned that I can get up and I can go outside when the sun's coming up, and I can feel the sun hit me, the warmth. I can smell the fresh air, and sometimes I know that's hard to find, is fresh air. But where I live, there's some fresh air. There's some monstrous trees. Some of them are kind of annoying because, like, I got two big ones in my front yard, and they're pin oaks that drop all these annoying little things, and I'm like, well, that's a bummer. But yeah, they're still beautiful trees. you know, but I get to smell the trees, the plants, my wife's flower bed out in front of the front porch. I get to do all this. You know, do I want to just be like, oh, because I can't see? No, I'm not going to be all bummed out because I can't see. I've had that period in my life. I did what I've suggested. I walked through it. Sometimes there's times I feel it, pulling on me. The and I feel it. I'm like, and it's still there, but it's not like all the time that I was feeling for a while. I was putting a mask on, just pretending I was happy and enjoying it, and just felt so much regret and loss and depression because I didn't, I didn't go see this, I didn't go see this, I didn't go see this, and so on and so forth. I still get to go do plenty of things. And just because I can't see them doesn't mean I can't experience things that I missed out on with my vision. I can still experience some things. I can still, go to a Grand Canyon. I can still travel, up to see Mount Rushmore. And I can still go and, you know, go back to, which happening this year, by the way, for me and my wife's 5-year wedding anniversary. Going back to Universal Studios to check out some Harry Potter theme parks. Oh yeah, they got a new one. We're going, so it's happening. But it's just there's things that are just so fabulous, and I want you guys to recognize that. Yeah, some people think that our nation needs a serious tune-up. I'm not going to say it does. I'm not going to say it doesn't. But right now, you know, it is what it is. We can either sit and complain, whine and moan, or we can just be like, all right, this is what's going on. That's fine. We don't have to wait for the great day, to be happy. It can be a, tough day. We can still be happy because we know this is coming. When I get off work, I get to see my wife. When I get off work, I'm going to have a good dinner. When I get off work, I'm going to, sit. We're going to play our Monopoly Go. And yeah, I know it sounds crazy that a blind man's playing Monopoly Go, but there's a way. Anyways, there's so much. You guys just got to give yourself the opportunity. Get yourself the change that you need. Where can you find the change? It's simple. It's just doing something different or something that you know is going to feel good to you. It's just that simple. You just have to find something that's going to feel good to you. I don't know what else to tell you all. If you work at this, you can make your life into enjoyment. You know, you can feel your way through the times and then come out the other side and be like, hey, look at that. I made it through. Be proud that, man, I walked through that tough time in my life. I walked through it and I did it. I did it. You know, so and so helped me. So this other person helped me. You know, I did it. I didn't sit in misery and wallow around in it. I got up and found that positive. I found that energy. I've gone for it and I got it. You know, that's what I want you guys to start feeling and find that desire to do it. You can. It is totally possible. I know some people suffer from these mental health diagnoses, manic depression, you bipolar, you ODD, OCD, BPD. I mean, I know a little bit about it, and I know some of those, mental health disorders that you may be diagnosed with. Those things can be so freaking tough to work with and to get through. But I guarantee you, I have worked with, people that suffer from this. I'm not a mental health counselor. I'm not trying to say I'm, counseling them, but I've talked with them, and I've heard what they share, and I understand what they're, empathizing. I can't feel what they feel, but I can empathize with it. But I let them share with me what they're going through, what they're feeling, and then I ask them, "So what are you going to do about it?" Some of them, I know I can't see them, but some of them I know because there's just this dead silence, and I know they're staring at me like, "What the hell do you mean?" Work on it. Do something to make it feel better. I'm not telling you go use illegal drugs or get so drunk that you can't remember, what you did last night. I'm not telling you any of that. Don't take it like that. I'm telling you just to find something to do that'll move you from this side over to this side. Bummed out, happy, enjoying life. It may be medication, it may be health therapies, it may be taking a walk in the morning, it may be having a certain breakfast, on this day of the week, and maybe, going to coffee this day of the week with this friend. It could be so many things. I mean, you've got to think about this. Remember, it only has to be this big. You know? I've said it in other videos, and I'll say it again. Small steps. Small steps. Take these small steps of change. You don't have to make this big of a change. You can make this big of a change. Just this big. That's all I'm saying. Just have to make this big of a change. Because that small step you took to make that small change. What if you do another one? What if you do another one? What if you do another one? You start building up that momentum. You start getting that momentum going. You start getting that confidence because you're starting to feel better. You're like, oh my God, this is working. And you want to keep doing it and you start making it a process. And it becomes part of your routine in your daily life. And there it is. Those people with those mental health diagnoses, they try these small changes and I've seen it work. Yeah, I've heard it work. Yeah, I'm going to never get that right how to say not say seen since I can't see, but I know it works because I've heard them. I've heard the success. I've heard the happiness. I heard them moving on with their lives. And I know it's just an amazing thing, especially, and it brings joy to my heart because I know these people have gone through some hell and yet they didn't give up. They listened to people, not necessarily me, some other people, you know, and then did something and changed something in their life, maybe a couple things, and it got them to go down a different path, a path that brings them smiles, that brings them happiness, that brings them joy, that they want more of. So they keep doing this and keep moving down this path, and more things start coming to them, and they're like, look at this, versus us sitting in our, and not making any progress, just sitting and feeling the depression, the sadness, the hurt, the loneliness, we feel that, and we don't do nothing about it. It's not going to just magically go away if you don't do something, folks. I can't stress enough. You have to take action. It's what's going to get you moving in the right direction. And it doesn't have to be massive actions. I mean, if you're able to take a massive action, and make this huge change, okay. I hope that is what it's going to take, and you do it. But I'm telling you, it only has to be this big. It don't have to be this big. You know, just try out the small stuff, and try moving forward with it. Try feeling the energy that you get off of accomplishing these small things, you know, these enjoyable activities. And you do this, like going out with a friend to coffee, like I've said many times, you know, try and see what that feeling is when you're with them, when you laugh with them, when you're walking away and just think, man, that was a really nice time. I need to do that again. It's time to go get a, it's getting warmer. At least where we are. Time to start scooping up, getting cups of ice cream cones and hot fudge sundaes and whatever else. Unless you're trying to get a girl to sugar back, and I don't know what to tell you, but I know they make sugar-free ice cream too. So see what you can do, see what you can find for yourself. Life does not have to be all. You're going to feel some of that some days. Walk through it, like I said, and come out the other side feeling like you have made it. You are there. Yeah. And then you're happy you got through that tough time. Like the office I work at the end of this month, we're getting audited um, to renew our license, uh, which, it is what it is. And since I'm mainly the uh, clinical license, my stuff is going to get gone through with a fine tooth comb. But I'm the one that's in the office with the license. So it'll be all my files that the auditor goes through. And oh boy, am I nervous? Not really. Yeah. Am I dreading the next couple of weeks that, bring me up to the audit? Yeah, a bit. It's going to be a little bit, oh my gosh, as I work with the other people in the office to go through my files to make sure all the releases are in, to make sure all the stuff's signed, to make sure I did things at the right time, and all these fun things that I'm, and I didn't make repeats of everything. There's it takes a little bit of time to make sure I got all my ducks in a row and that you know, I did it right, and I know I'm going to get through it. We're going to get the license renewed. It'll be fine. But I feel a little nervous, feel a little stressed. But I know after the audit's over and they say, okay, there you go. Here's your new license. I'm like, accomplished, success, relief. I'm going to feel all these kind of things that are going to be good. And I'm not going to let some stress, some worry, some nervousness, some anxiety. I'm not going to let all that stuff eat my lunch every day up until the audit. That would be that'd be crazy. How am I going to enjoy the days? How am I going to have a smile when I'm working with people? I'm just got in the back of my head stress, nervousness, anxiety, worry, concern. If I have all that going on in my back of my head, and I'm sitting here with working with somebody, that ain't going to work out too good because then I'm going to start putting a mask on, and I'm not going to be real. I'm just going to be faking it. You know, and have that. And I don't. That's not what I want. I want to be able to feel like this right now. The happiness, the energy. I want that, and I want more of it. So I got to do what I got to do to get there. Do that. What do I know I got to do? I'm getting to get up and go to a meeting where a bunch of my friends will be, and there might be some donuts, there might be some breakfast sandwiches, there'll definitely be coffee. Have this little meeting, nothing serious, and it'll feel so good because I'm with my friends. You know, some of us are out there and we feel alone, and that's a tough time, isn't it? When we feel alone, it's especially bad when you're in a room full of people and you still feel alone. You're like, nobody relates to me. I mean, I go into some meetings and for a long time, I was the only person that was blind going into these meetings, and people, knew me, and they, knew me when I had vision, and they've seen me go through my life, and then the day the lights went out, they knew, and they felt for me, they empathized, they felt sad, and I don't want them to feel sad because this is another chapter in my life that I'm going to go through and say it can be done. I don't have to sit and cry and waller every day of my life. I did do some crying. Don't get me wrong. I had to walk through it. Part of the process, feeling the sadness, feeling the loss, it's kind of the brief stages of grief. I got stages of loss. I got to go through that, come out the other side, so I can move on. And right now I'm trying to move on. Right now, my wife and I are helping our kids. You know, get on track with and hopefully get them a foot up, so that they'll be able to move on with their lives, you know, and I hope it's exactly what they need. I truly do because they deserve good things in their lives. They haven't been, these horrible people that have, done all these, had all these bad attitudes and bad behaviors, maybe when they were teenagers. Yeah, they're teenagers. They're adults now. They are trying to stay afloat in a society that is continually becoming more and more pricey and challenging. And I'm not going to get on my pedestal and start talking about it, the economy or any of that. Don't worry. No, because that would definitely not it would definitely not be a happy discussion by the time I got done. So we're just going to say, they're trying, and as long as I see them try, I want to help. I want to be reaching out and helping. You know, whether it's getting a car repaired, whether it's getting a car payment made, whether it's helping with gas, whether it's yeah something one my daughter wants her mountain bike she has here at the house brought down to the town she lives in, and the only way that's happening is we put it in the back of the truck and off we go. Don't have any other options. The only way it can be done because it sure isn't going to fit my daughter's little Malibu, and her fiance has a Jeep, and it probably would fit in a Jeep. We'd have to take the bike apart, and then they'd have to put it back together, or we could just toss it in the bed of the pickup, strap it down, and go visit. Sounds pretty fun. Think we're probably going to do that here pretty soon. So, you know, like I say, in closing, you guys, I want you guys to look for things that will make you feel good. Will let you, and when you got to feel your feelings on those days that you're going, feel it. Go ahead. Don't be afraid of it. Feel it. And then keep on walking through it and come out the other side and be like, oh, thank gosh, through that. Yes. And feel your success in getting through that moment, Just give it a try. I guarantee you, it is worth it. When you can enjoy your life day after day, if you get a string of days in a row that are happy days, take them, enjoy them, cherish them, share them with others and bring them joy because that's something I didn't say today is, when you have the positive energy and it's just oozing off of you, it oozes onto other people and they start feeling the vibe, they start feeling the mood, they start going with it too. And it just pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. Enjoy it. Let others enjoy what you're feeling. And have that happiness spread. And it works. I guarantee you, it'll work. You just got to put that footwork in and go for it. Don't be scared to ask for assistance. Don't be scared to talk to somebody. Don't be scared to say, "Hey, you want to go do something?" Don't be worried about that. Just do it and enjoy the rewards of doing it. they're worth it. Y'all have yourself a great week. I hope y'all, get something out of this. Please leave me some comments. I really like your feedback. I don't get a lot of it. I don't know I'm doing great, not doing great, what. But I love some comments. Tell me something you want to hear about, want to talk about. We can do it. I'm always interested in doing a little search and figuring out how to present something. But you gotta let me know. And if y'all are interested, my wife has her own YouTube channel. It's called Just Another Beauty Guru. I'm trying to become a popular makeup influencer. I remember how she did her makeup before I lost my vision. She is fabulous at it. I mean, she can make herself wow without makeup. I mean, she's already wow, but it's wow, and it really gets going. And I want you guys, guys and gals, whichever, don't matter, follow her and check out how she does her makeup. See what you think if you're into the makeup stuff. Just another beauty guru. That's my wife's YouTube channel. Anyways, y'all have a great week. Bye.